What's going on YouTube? Welcome back to the channel, back in my garage. Today we're going to be tackling phase 3 of dialing in my alignment on the daily 04 Matrix XRS. Got my sidekick Emery with me.
Hi, what's up guys?
And today we're going to be installing the SPC Easy Shim, which is essentially this disc that's tapered all around and it adjusts your toe and your camber all at the same time. I'll be showing you guys how to calculate basically how to use this disc, how to decipher the chart that comes inside. Hopefully by the end of this I'll have my rears aligned within spec, go back to the alignment shop, have the fronts adjusted accordingly, and hopefully the car is going to handle decent and it's going to look cool. Stick around, I'll show you guys how to do this. Alright, so when you open this up you get the instructions out. First thing you're going to notice is this really confusing looking chart here. Definitely looks daunting, but it's not that difficult to understand. Essentially this quadrant over here is for positive gain. So if you want to adjust your camber or your toe positively, you're going to be moving in this direction. And if you're looking to go negative, you're going to be looking in this direction. Since we're not changing camber, we're going to stay in this zero adjustment right here. And since we're looking to add about 0.25 degrees of toe, move over to the right, no camber change, that brings us to 19.1. Alright, so when you're looking at your disc, we've established our numbers. In my case it's 19 and 1. You see these numbers on the outer portion of the disc and numbers on the inner portion of this disc. This whole thing rotates, so your first number you're going to want to put on this outer ring. And you want to set that to top dead center. So we're going to be looking at this like this. So I have 19, I marked it here just so it's easy to find. This whole time we'll be working on this, we're going to make sure this 19 is pointed at the 12 o'clock position. Then we're going to take our lower number, in our case the 1, right under 19. When you line this up, you're going to notice these holes. I don't know if you can see the light. So you can see my hand behind the holes. That's how you know you're lined up right. Another thing to pay attention to is the orientation of this disc matters depending on which side it's going on the car. And the instructions say if this is going on the driver's side, you want the numbers facing away from you. So I just put a little out so I remember. So now that we have our disc all set and ready to put on, let's start taking stuff apart. Alright, so we got our wheel off. Essentially we need to remove everything in front of the hub. So the caliper's got to come off. The rotor's got to come off, and essentially we're trying to get to the 4 bolts behind the hub. All we have to do is unbolt these 4 12mm bolts behind the hub. Just want to be very careful. This is another piece that you don't want just hanging. So, alright, 4 bolts. Alright, and our hub is out. Like I said, you want to be careful. Try not to let it hang on anything. And just like that, we're ready to put our shim on. We're going to go ahead and make sure we clean this surface thoroughly, along with the mounting points right here. Like all this debris got to come off. You don't need a polished finish, but you definitely want to have a clean mounting surface. If any of this debris is back here, that debris could vibrate out, leaving gaps, and it's going to yield our torque spec inefficient, and worst case scenario, things go loose. Do it right, clean it, torque the spec. Alright, coming back to our instructions here. We went over how you have your numbers oriented. Your 19, in our case 19 and 1, with 19 being at the 12 o'clock position. You're going to line it up with the instruction booklet here. You're going to want to cut out all these shaded areas. And these slots are where our lug studs are going to go. You want to cut these out with like a box cutter or a sharp blade. Avoid using snips because I really don't want to, break this thing in half. So let's see if we can make that happen. Whew, all right, nice. Take your time with it. Use a sharp blade. Remember, always cut away from yourself. There's definitely room for accidents if you mess up, so don't mess up. Alright, we got our alignment shim cut out to match our diagram here. Something to take into account, there is a notice here. It's saying that some vehicles with rear disc brakes may need to run a spacer to prevent rotor lockup. I'll be honest, I'm just gambling. I think I'm gonna be okay, but we'll find out when we bolt it all back together. So now this is ready to install. Don't forget on our instructions, if it's going on the rear driver side, these numbers need to be facing away from us. So let's see if this fits. Alright, so when you have your alignment shim on, pretty much supposed to look like this. These are the cutouts to allow your bolts to pass through and hold your hub on. I'm just gonna kind of experiment here. I'm gonna try to use these two bolts to hold this on while I put the hub back in and just kind of thread these on. Hopefully nothing falls out. And you want to make sure your 12 o'clock position, in my case the 19 and 1, facing straight up and down. Quadruple check, my numbers are facing away from me. Let's see if we can get this on okay. Alright, so we got our shim in. Just takes a little bit of finessing to get things to line up. Obviously you want to make sure you're not cross-threading things, so you definitely want to start these off by hand. Now the instructions say you want to torque these down, starting with the thinnest portion or thinnest part of the disc, which in my case is closer to the 12 o'clock since we're not having any camber change. Alright, so I got the hub snugged up to my axle beam. The alignment shim's in place. Now this is a very important step. When you're running this shim, it's going to change your factory torque spec. So for my car, 2004 Toyota Matrix XRS, my torque spec for these 4 bolts is 45 foot-pounds. SPC dictates you want to increase that by 15%. So 15% of 45 is 6.75, which brings my new torque spec to 51.75. So I'm going to torque these to 52 foot-pounds. All right, I got my wheel on. I don't think my brake rotor is binding. Everything's torqued up. I'm just gonna go ahead and drive it. I'm gonna be a little careful because changing the toe in the back more than likely change the toe in the front. Hopefully it won't be too drastic because I still got, what is this? I got 6 days till my alignment, so I might have to daily the Supra for a couple days, which is, it's not a bad thing. All right, so there you guys have it. That's how you install alignment shims. In particular on Toyotas with the solid rear axle beam, but the concept remains the same for really any alignment shim as long as you can accurately, work with that chart. I've also seen that some alignment shops that use a Hunter machine might be able to actually print out a diagram for you, make it way easier. Literally does the calculations for you. Just make sure you don't cut yourself. You try not to break the alignment shim. Don't forget to add 15% to whatever your hub torque spec is, and we'll see what the results are. I'll take you guys with me when I got my alignment, and hopefully we'll have the rear dialed in so we can fix the front, and I'll finally have the car looking how I want and handling how I want as well. I'll finally be happy with it, and we conclude my mission in correcting the alignment on these Toyotas with the solid rear axle beam. But I'll catch you guys at the alignment shop.